You're watching CHCO-TV's gavel-to-gavel coverage of the April 2025 regular council meeting for the Municipality of Eastern Charlotte. I'm Florence Mitchell. Many of this meeting's agenda items were moved from the March regular council meeting, which was canceled due to a lack of quorum. Today's meeting begins with a presentation by the New Brunswick RCMP. Under Old Business, Council will move to authorize the CAO to submit a proposal to the Local Governance Commission detailing the case for reclassifying Eastern Charlotte from a rural community to a town. Additionally, Council will discuss the Housing Accelerator Fund. Under New Business, Council will move to approve Streetlight Policy 08-2025. Council will move to merge several tax authority subunits into one subunit. Council will also adopt a motion to advise the Age-Friendly Community Committee to communicate additional recommendations in the 2025 to 2028 action plan to the appropriate government and community groups. Additionally, Council will move to redesignate the area currently known as the Day Adventure Center. Council will move to award tenders for canteens at Canal Beach and the Eastern Charlotte Recreational Complex. Finally, Council will move to give Bylaw Z.2.6, amending the rural plan for the Village of Blacks Harbor, its first and second readings, to request the views of the Planning Review and Adjustment Committee, and to set a date for a public hearing of objections. Now let's join Council at Macadavic Place in St. George.
I will now call the meeting to order here at 7 p.m. here at Macadavic Place in St. George. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for coming tonight. This is our 27th official council meeting for Eastern Charlotte, and I want to welcome all those attending watching us on TV or on CHCO tonight. I want to thank CHCO for being here tonight. Florence Mitchell is in the back. Of course, their star, Vicky Hogarth, is right over here to my left. And tonight, from all the way from Blacks Harbor, doing the camera, is Dawson Hatt. Thank you very much, Dawson, for being here tonight. He's doing a great job tonight. Just want to make an unofficial announcement. The unofficial mayor, I've always called him the unofficial mayor of Penfield, the other day just turned officially 90 years old, Lester McKay. So I want to wish Lester a very happy birthday this week. I know he's probably watching us. Tonight, we don't have with us Councillor Tidd. Councillor Tidd, unfortunately, is still in the hospital. He's quite ill. He's been in the hospital most of this past week and still there again tonight. And Councillor Lee is away tonight on vacation. So, Councillor Tidd, we're all thinking of you, and we hope you get well soon. First item on the agenda tonight is the adoption of the agenda. The one thing I would add to the agenda tonight is, I'm going to make one change. The RCMP are not here tonight, but we do have the YMCA here tonight. Paige Scott is wanting to speak to council tonight, so to move her to number 6 if that was possible. And I'll make that one change if somebody would like to move the adoption of the agenda with adding Paige Scott of the YMCA to that. But I have to let somebody here to make that. Sure.
I'm going to ask that we add an item to the agenda tonight.
Sure.
And I would ask that we add it under new business to explore a little bit of relief, our council to explore a little bit of relief for the water users of Blacks Harbor for the water quality and the issues that have constantly been going on for a long period of time here. So I would ask that motion, Your Worship, be added.
Sure,
if council will have it.
So we got 2 items added to the agenda tonight, and to new business and to delegations tonight. One for the YMCA, and new business would be to explore. I didn't write it. I can't read my own writing. Explore relief for the residents of Blacks Harbor and the ratepayers down there. If that's the motion, right? I need a seconder for that. Councillor Dedirakis, you're first. Any question or comment on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary, and that's passed unanimously. 3 is conflict of interest. Anybody like to make a declaration of conflict of interest? This is your opportunity to do so now. And so if not, we move on to adoption of minutes of the previous council meetings. February the 19th, 2025. I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes for the meeting of February the 19th, 2025, the regular meeting of council as circulated to members of council. I need a motion for that tonight. Councillor Thompson, and seconded by Councillor McKay. Question or comment on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Contrary, and that's passed unanimously. 4B is February the 25th, 2025. This is Committee of the Whole of Council. I need a motion to approve the minutes for the meeting of February the 25th, 2025, Committee of the Whole, as circulated to members of Council tonight. I need a motion for the Deputy Mayor, and seconded by Councillor Thompson. Question or comment on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Contrary, and that's passed unanimously. March the 4th, 2025, a closed meeting of council. I need a motion to approve the minutes for the meeting of March 4th, 2025, as circulated to members of council. Yeah, Councillor McQuarrie. Seconded by Councillor Thompson. Question or comment on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Contrary, and that's passed unanimously. 4D, March the 11th, 2025, Committee of the Whole. I need a motion to approve the minutes for that meeting on the March the 11th, as circulated to members of council. Councillor McQuarrie, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Question or comment on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Contrary, and that's passed. March the 19th, 2025, regular meeting of council. This is the March 19th meeting. As circulated to members of council, I need a motion for that. Okay, Councillor McKay, and I heard Councillor McQuarrie seconding that. Question or comment on that? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. And that's passed unanimously. We have a lot of meetings here because it's almost like 2 months of meetings because we didn't have a regular meeting last month. April the 1st, April Fool's Day, Committee of the Whole. I would like to I need a motion to approve the minutes for the meeting of April the 1st, the Committee of the Whole, as circulated to members of council. Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor McQuarrie. Question or comment? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Contrary, and that's passed. April the 8th, Committee of the Whole. I need a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of April the 8th, 2025, Committee of the Whole, as circulated to members of council. Councillor Thompson, and I heard Councillor McQuarrie make it a second for that, if I'm correct. Question or comment on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Contrary, and that's passed unanimously. Okay, now we got number 5, business arising out of the minutes. There are none tonight, and delegations. We have Paige Scott with us tonight. Paige, you have the floor. Thank you for being here tonight.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for allowing me time this evening to speak to the YMCA updates in our community. All right. So my name is Paige Scott. I'm the manager of community and program development in Eastern Charlotte, and I'm with the YMCA. So I oversee all of the recreation programming and the YMCA after-school program at St. George Elementary School. So the community programs, I just want to give a little bit of an overview, like an update of the progress that we've made so far, because it's coming up on 3 years that we've been in the community. So we've seen really good growth. So I just want to give a little bit of insight to how that's been going. So we are primarily out of the gym and the upstairs of the Eastern Charlotte Recreational Complex. So we're very fortunate to utilize that area, and we're very thankful to the municipality to give us the opportunity to create impact in our community and utilize that space. So we've had a lot of transformation. On our Facebook page, it's YMCA in Eastern Charlotte County. We've posted some photos as of lately to see the transformation. You can see that it's come to life in there. You're seeing a lot of there's art on the walls from the kids. There's a lot of affirmations around, so it's really coming to life. It's brighter. It's happy to see. So we've had great participation in 2025 so far. Having just finished the first quarter, we saw 1,838 participants in the first 3 months of 2025. In January, we had 568, February 515, and in March 755. So we had a really good March because we had a great March break. So throughout March break, we had programming throughout 5 days, and we had 229 participants. and it was awesome. So we saw people of all ages. We had coffee and cards with seniors. We had kinder play, open gym. We had people of every age group coming. It was amazing, and that's what we want to see. So it was busy, but it was a great time, and that's what the momentum we want to keep up. So I also want to talk to the opportunities that we're creating in the community. So by having the YMCA community programming and by having us in the Eastern Charlotte Rec Complex, we have had 5 NBCC students complete their practicum with us. So we just had 2 students complete their last day last Friday, and we have them both interviewing for summer positions, so we're hopeful. Last year, one of our practicum students filled a summer position at the Y. She just finished up her ECE course. She starts on Monday, so she'll be working with our after-school program and through the summer day camps. So we're seeing community impact because they're all Charlotte County residents, and so that's 5, and then we've had at least 2 job opportunities from that so far. It's been great, and we're happy to keep them home and keep them employed here with us and creating impact. So, I had a list of programming that we offer, but I'm not pointing to anything. So we have rotational programming that goes through. We post our schedules on Facebook weekly, and we are trying to keep a very consistent schedule and timeline, but wanting to add more open gyms and more Y hangouts. So we want to make sure that everyone knows that those are open for people of all ages. So you don't have to just be a teenager to be in the gym shooting basketball. You could be any age. We have a cute kinder gym area. You could be playing badminton, and it doesn't matter if you're good or not. We have the walking track. We've got lots of seniors coming out so that there is no traffic, so that they didn't have to walk on sidewalks or on the side of the road. You can use it, regardless of weather. So we're having a great time with that. So family game nights, open gyms, trivia, crafts, seasonally usually. But then we also have kinder play. That's our most attended program. So that would be for children and guardians 0 to 5. So I would also like to speak to our growth year over year, now that we're into our 3rd year. So each quarter since we've started, we've shown growth. And throughout 2024, we had a total of 5,609 participants in Eastern Charlotte, in addition to having our licensed after-school program at St. George Elementary School and offering 10 weeks of summer day camp. And we were maxed out at 17 kids each week. We also had 2 weeks of unlicensed day camps in Blacks Harbor, and so we're hoping to do that again. So year over year, in 2024, we saw over 5,000. That's 2,000 more than we saw in 2023, and 4,000 more than we saw in 2022. Right now, we're on track to see over 7,000 in 2025, with 1,838 people so far this year. So how we're going to build on that is we're going to keep the momentum going, offer more programming. We're a small but mighty team, so we really put our heart and soul into everything that we're doing. We're going to increase the evening and weekend programming. We totally understand that not everyone can get to daytime programming, and we really want to overcome that. I know that it's a gap that we have currently, and we're working on that. We haven't previously advertised birthday parties, but I guess it's out there now. So we do offer birthday parties. We've been doing them on a trial basis, but they've been going over really well. So we offer those specifically on the weekends, and we want to build on that. It'll be summer before you know it here soon. We're hoping to at least offer 3 weeks of unlicensed day camp in Blacks Harbor, and that'll be in addition to the 10 weeks that go on at St. George Elementary School. Those are open for 15 kids per week, and we would have up to 20 for our unlicensed program in Blacks Harbor. Overall, I want to reiterate that our goal is to have quality programming that's accessible, safe, and enjoyable. I want to, I say that, we do. I really want to, because I feel so passionate about it, meet the needs of our community. And I want to reiterate that It's not just for children. So we love to see new faces come to Cards and Coffee. Sometimes we have homeschool children and their parents come to Cards and Coffee as an opportunity to get out. You do not need to have your children play Cards and Coffee. There's tons of space that they can run. You can have coffee in the other end of the room. Do whatever you want. If you're there, your children can go downstairs and run around with you while we drink coffee upstairs. But we just really want to be inclusive to all ages and make sure it's accessible to everybody. If you have suggestions, questions, or if you'd like to volunteer, because we always love to have volunteers join our group, please email me. And to make sure that you stay on top of what we're doing, follow our Facebook page. So our Facebook page is YMCA in Eastern Charlotte County. And my email is p.scott@yswnb.ca. That's everything. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Paige. What I'm going to do at this point, just before you leave, I'm just going to turn it over to council at this point and give them an opportunity to either ask a question or make a statement. And so
Absolutely.
I'll go to Councilor Dedrick, I'm sure you usually, I know that you use this service quite a bit, so maybe you want to.
I love the YMCA.
There you go.
And I see Paige, I would say like at least once a week.
Yep.
My son, I take him to Kinder Play, and it's been the best thing for him. It's the best thing I could possibly imagine. He's there playing with other kids, older kids at that, and we're playing with different toys. The staff is super attentive. It's a safe space. I couldn't sing the YMCA's praises enough. In terms for adult recreation, I'm part of this mom group chat, and it was dropped in our chat that apparently there's pickleball tonight.
There's
actually.
pickleball tonight, yes.
So next Wednesday, that's something that I will be taking part in.
Awesome.
Any other questions or comments? Councilor Hatt.
So I think when did we start this, 2021?
Yeah.
I think that's when we kicked it off, way
Yep.
back, and when it
Yep.
was just Council of Blacks.
Yep.
I mean, if you remember the numbers then, we were at 300 coming out of the gate.
Yep.
This year projected to be at 7,000. Remember what I told you? We're
Yep.
going to make this place a beehive.
Yep.
Let's make it like a beehive.
Yep.
Have it active, have people coming in and out. The only question that we have come back on, like far as recreation, and I know we've communicated that, is something a little bit for the, I don't want to say older youth, but
Yeah.
that mid-age youth,
Yep.
like the Y hangouts, that was a big thing. So definitely that would be awesome if that can come back and
Yeah,
start being
absolutely.
supported for it a little bit. But
Yep.
all in all, you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from council? No? Thank you very much, Paige, for coming in today. I appreciate it.
Thank
nice
you.
Nice to have you here tonight.
Thank you.
This brings us to department reports tonight, and I'm going to the general government report first, and I'll call on Jason Gidette.
Thank you, Your Worship. General government report for February is within council package. General government report for March 2025. Financial auditors have started the 2024 financial audit. As noted previously, they started really late last year, and it shouldered up against the budget as well. So we'll get this done early, out of the way, and then focus on the budget early in the fall. Housing and development, 12 units under renovations at the former 260 building in Blacks Harbor, Project Village Housing, awaiting CMHC final approval for the Lewis Connor Street in Blacks Harbor, hoping to see a 2025 start. Discussions with owner on the potential renovations of the old hospital in Blacks Harbor as well. It's still ongoing. It's been discussion, and they may be formulating a bit of a development agreement ask there as well. Upcoming tendering of 3 to 4 house lots in Blacks Harbor. These are just small house lots, single-family house lots in around the village. And discussions with the province on the Hillside Subdivision project here in St. George, the impact of unregistered wetlands, which is something that's a topic of a lot of discussion regarding just the subdivision of properties, not only the blue lines on the map, but unregistered wetlands impacting subdivisions and development. There has been increased request for business and retail space in St. George area as well. That's constantly requests we receive at the municipal office looking for space. Tenders closed for the canteens on the agenda for tonight at the arena and Canal Beach. EMO scheduling ICS training for staff and firefighters. Civic number auditing for rural areas, something that's been ongoing for a while, especially in around the lakes of Diggity Wash and Lily Lake. A lot of rural areas that don't really have any civic numbers, but we're trying to get those sorted out. Staffing, scheduling interviews for the full-time public works position in St. George. The position was well received. I think we're looking at 40 applicants so far, and interviews are scheduled for next week. Not for all 40, but for those that were selected. We have arrived at a tentative agreement with the union contract for Public Works and just awaiting finalizing some details. Public Works awaiting the startup of the asphalt plant early as next week, and we'll start working on some of those potholes in around the village and the town. Switching over from winter operations to summer preparations now as well. Childcare, YMCA is engaged with Murdoch Boyd on engineering and architectural work, as well as putting together some construction costs, and we're still looking for. Water and wastewater on Globe continues work with IBA project for the water source of Blacks Harbor, CBCL for the IBA projects with St. George, awaiting possible funding assistance for dredging of Blacks Harbor sewage lagoons. We were rejected from RDC on the first pass. Now we're trying to connect the dredging of the lagoons in Blacks Harbor with housing, and hopefully we're able to make that connection and get some support there. Scheduling cleaning of the water towers in St. George and Blacks Harbor is tentative for June. Compile a list of much needed valves, manhole, flushing hydrants for Blacks Harbor. Further repair upgrade required on the sewage line for Clint Street in St. George as well. Parks and Recreation site visits for the J.O. Spinney Drive basketball courts, baseball fields is planned to improve to the play areas. Quotations and planning for next phase of the Adventure Lane Park area. Ice of the arena is stopped in the end of March. We'll shift to repairs and finishing up some upgrades to the arena. Also, replace of the old ball court next to the arena is scheduled for early summer. I did ever receive a call from the paver, and it looks like it's going to probably be late May. And scheduling major events such as the annual festivals is underway with staff now as well. Garbage collection, just a bit of a reminder, residents are reminded that all white goods such as appliances, fridges and stoves and freezers cannot be picked up until April, which we're in now. Residents are asked not to place these large items roadside until now. In April, residents can call the Service Commission for the White Good Recycle Program, and this program runs from April 1st to October 31st each year, and they'll look after all the fry-on removal, and there's no charge for the service. So versus just putting the white goods out to the curb, there is a number that you have to call as well. And just, I guess, one other just note for residents that are now paying property taxes. Please ensure that property taxes are paid to the province of New Brunswick and not to Eastern Charlotte. We're receiving a lot of residents that are submitting payments to Eastern Charlotte. What happens is it's a long, lengthy process to get the money back. So just make sure that when you are paying property taxes, you're paying to the province or the government of New Brunswick and not Eastern Charlotte. So thank you.
Any questions or comments? Councilor Dederakis.
Jason, where are we at with the water incentive program for St. George?
Pardon me?
Where are we at with the water incentive program for St. George?
So that bylaw is somewhat drafted, so we should have something coming to council, I would say, next month.
Okay.
It's just looking at, it would be a fees bylaw that would incorporate both the Blacks Harbor water system and St. George water system. So I think there was just a few different items that we had to address with finance, and so that's probably, I would say, month of May. Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I thought we were going to try to keep them two separate because one had business stuff in it and one was more residential.
Yeah, really everything we've seen so far, we can put them together because it would just be the Schedule A that would be updated anytime there's fees changes. So versus replicating it, we can get the same pay scale, or pay period, pay scheduling and everything, discounts and the interest and everything. So it's not an issue so much with the actual bylaw of the water system, it's just the fees side of things. That's all it would be.
My other question was, you touched on the sewage lagoon dredging in Blacks Harbor, and I think it's fair that the public knows that where we are looking at on quotes on that and what that estimate of that is, and that's why we're applying for funding is.
Right.
So
yeah.
I'd like for the public to know that that is a significant bill that's coming down the pipeline for that. So
Yeah, so that tender will come to council right now. I mean, it's anywhere is between $300 to $1.2 million between the contractors that submitted that. So even somewhere in the middle of a $600,000 work, it's a lot of money. So that's why we've gone to RDC to try to at least to see if we can get some partnership there. Originally, they came back and denied it, but we're trying to make the connection that, just by this report alone, there's a lot of housing opportunities in Black Harbor. We don't really have that in St. George, but thankfully we have that opportunity in Black Harbor. So making the connection, we need the capacity in the lagoons. In some places, we only have 25% of wiggle room in some of the lagoon areas. So this will help increase the capacity and allow for more housing.
I know we have a healthy reserve, but it doesn't take very long to chew it up at $500,000 to $1 million, so.
Definitely.
Any other questions for our CEO? If not, I'll move ahead to the report to the Southwest New Brunswick Service Commission. And Mr. Alex Henderson, you have the floor.
Good evening, Council. So at its March meeting, PRAC welcomed Brenda Allison of Eastern Charlotte to the committee. So she's going to serve a 4-year term on the committee. That night, PRAC also met to provide a view to Council on the Hillside Estate subdivision. So that subdivision involves the creation of new municipal streets, potentially new public park. And before a development officer can give a final approval to a plan of subdivision with those assets, the municipality would have to agree to take those assets on. So that requires Council to make a motion to assent to that plan of subdivision. As Jason also noted, Department of Environment Local Government reached out on this file and said that there's a potential for unmapped wetlands on the property. That doesn't mean there are, so it's important to note that. But before the lots are given a final approval by the development officer and they're registered and made available for sale to a lot purchaser, it's important to check to make sure that those lots are buildable, suitable for the purpose intended. There's a rezoning bylaw, as Jason also referred to. This rezoning bylaw is for the development of 3 lots on municipal-owned property in the village of Black Harbor. And there's a couple little parcels that need to be rezoned in order to facilitate that subdivision. So there's a separate planning report for that, and I'm going to stick around for that file if there's any questions on that one. In terms of your development, you've had 11 building or development permits issued year to date. You've had 4 new in the last month. And you're just about $1.2 million in new construction value added to Eastern Charlotte year to date. You've had 5 subdivision plans approved and 1 new in the last month. There's been 15 net new homes or apartment units added year to date. And one of those is the Project Village housing proposal. I think that's 12 of those units. But there's 1 new home in the last report period as well. In terms of enforcement, you've had 3 enforcement files closed in the last, year to date, 2025. And these would be enforcement files for Community Planning Act bylaws, or Rural Plan Regulation, or Zoning Bylaw, Building Code Administration Act, so your building regulation, and the Dangerous Unsightly Premises bylaw that you've adopted. So with that, I conclude my report. If there's any questions, happy to take them.
Good. Jason's going to add something as well.
I guess just in regards to the Hillside subdivision for St. George, talking with the developer, I know they're eager to get those lots subdivided and out for market. So, working with the Service Commission, just as much as this afternoon, we may have to do a special meeting just to assent to the lands for public use and the street to get that moving along. So I know the developer is eager to go, and then we may be dealing on one-off with some of those lots with delineation. So we really don't want to hold up as much of that process. It's a very big housing project that's been sort of floating around for a while. So that may be moved to a special meeting between now and the May meeting. I guess just on the other notes there too, with the enforcement, we do have 3 enforcement files that will probably be coming to council over the next 30 days for going through the final order, and those are very likely to be demolition orders on those properties. So we'll be working with the Service Commission and enforcement there to bring that to council. We'll move on with those.
Great. Any questions or comments from Councilor Hatt?
This wetlands thing that keeps coming more and more and more, and I know even as of like 2 weeks ago, an individual had brought concerns of like some gravel that had been put into their property, and now it doesn't drain, and it's kind of like a swampish area now being claimed as wetland area, but it was never ever was before they filled the area in. Like, where does this start, stop, and ever
Yeah.
end?
It's a great question from Councillor Hatt. So, yeah, the program kind of shifted the enforcement of the Clean Water Act. They used to focus on the wetlands that were mapped. And so we could operate with a little bit more certainty to say, yeah, you can develop here, you can't develop here without your WAWA permit. But now the way the department is enforcing it, it creates a little bit more onus on everyone who's doing development to check, to make sure they're not dealing with an unmapped potential wetland. Because the way the Clean Water Act is written, it says wetland it's just like a wet area of land. And so they're enforcing it basically the way the act is written now, and not just relying on what you see on GONB, right? So it's something that they are enforcing now, different than they were back, say, before 2020. And this is there's a couple things where we're also learning how the department would like to operate. So sending them plans of subdivision before they're approved is something that they've asked for to just ensure people have buildable lots. I mean, it's a sensible reason, but the cost of delineating is a cost, and time-wise, it's an extra time. And I know everyone would love to get development moving faster and faster because there's a housing crisis. So I understand the frustrations of developers on this, and it may be a conversation with the Department of Environment, local government about this approach, but it's really beyond us in terms of what to do about it.
Yeah.
Thank
Jason,
you,
you wanna add
Worship.
to-
And I guess, one issue that we're seeing too is that if residents buy or have a big piece of land, they can go to GONB right now and click a button, and it will show, what is registered or what is recognized wetlands. But, if you're buying a big piece of land, there's no button to click for these undesignated wetlands. So it's a bit of rolling of the dice, and then the province will use some LiDAR to sort of determine whether or not there is a wetland that's undocumented. So I think it's going to become a larger issue. I know through the association that CAOs belong to, we're trying to raise that up, and I certainly would encourage council to maybe start raising that through UNB, because this is becoming more and more of an issue that really it's an unknown until we send it off to the province, and based on some coloring on some map, then they're causing the owner then to get a delineator, which is very expensive. It can be $5,000 to $6,000 for delineator to come in and basically say it's an absent or present report. So is it absent or is it present, the water? And it's a costly process drawn out as well. I mean, right now, if you're to go to get a delineator, you're probably not going to see one until June. So it's a 2-month process, and it's costly. So, before we would know, someone would call us up, we'd click a button on the mapping and say, yes, you have wetland there, or there's a water or stream that's there, marshland. But now we really don't know. So
But is it not correct that if somebody 5 years ago filled their property in and now drainage is backed up and it's become a wet area, somebody coming to that property today, or LiDAR looking at that property today, they're deeming it as a designated wetland that for 25 or 50 years it was a dry field before that?
Yeah, I mean, based on the LiDAR can, whenever, depending on when it was done, yeah, if somebody's created a drainage ditch or something like that, and really, if it's a very large development project, then you'll have to get a delineator. In some cases, I think the province is willing to come down and take a look at it themselves, but for large pieces, they're basically passing it on to say, give us a report from a delineator to say that it's either there or not. So totally something that's new, and it's based off of really LiDAR that's showing the topography of a piece of land, and not really, it could be drainage, it could be someone creating a pond on their lawn, many different things. But it's just another step that's been introduced that's unfortunately in some cases causing delay.
I think it's warrant to look at drafting a letter to the UMMB about it and bringing it up.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Alex. I'm going to go to 7C now, the fire report, and Councillor Thompson.
The fire report for March 25, 39 medical calls, 30 training exercise, 8 public service, and 7 fire calls for a total of 84. Thank you.
Any questions or comments on that report? Councilor Dendrakis.
I know that this is a delicate question, and this is a question for our CAO. And keep in mind, in no way am I criticizing the fire department or the volunteers that are putting their lives that way. No, no question about that. I'm just concerned because if you look at the report for February 2025, you see an increase by over 18 calls. Last year there was 1 call. This year there was 19 calls for total rescue and resuscitation. And then again, and you look at for March, you see another increase, another big increase, where last year there were 7 calls and this year there were 39. So my question to our CAO is this fiscally feasible long-term?
You know, it's difficult to put numbers on a medical call, really. And I mean, you know, our fire service, they're dedicated that when a call comes in, especially whether it's a fire or just, you know, a medical call, they're reacting to it. So it will no doubt be increases with the number of calls and, you know, what we're having to pay out for our volunteer firefighters. So there is a fiscal change that comes about with this. But, you know, at this point, I don't know what the alternatives are, with the exception of lobbying Ambulance New Brunswick to maybe staff more. There certainly is a gap, and you know they're doing a very good job to fill that, and we're hearing a lot of great things with response time, and I think for residents, I think you know, if you're in trouble and you're calling and the ambulance is saying that they're 45 minutes away, at least now you know that there is somebody else coming quickly, whether it's, you know, just as simple as a choking call or somebody with high blood pressure. So they are certainly filling a gap that wasn't there before. So it's something that I think that, again, maybe going back to UMNB and trying to lobby the province to afford more funding and hiring with Ambulance New Brunswick. But, you know, I guess as far as the fire service, and I know Chief Johnson's not here, but, you know, for the fire service, when the call comes in, they're going to go, and they'll always be dedicated to that. It's just we need to ensure that the funding is there, and it's a new reality that we're into as well. So any help, I guess, on the you know, on the council side of lobbying for those extra staffing would be appreciative. But it's certainly sustainable because the guys are doing a great job with that, and we'll always support them. I mean, this is just another way of responding to calls, whether it's a fire call or a medical call. We have residents that are in trouble, and but yeah, it's certainly something that has changed the type of calls, and you have to kind of go back to the root reason for that. And it's just, I think there was always a delay with Ambulance New Brunswick in some cases, but with now protocols changing, if ambulances are far out, then they're dispatching fire. At least now there's somebody coming versus a delay. So in many cases, it's really made a difference of life and death. So I think, you know, it'll be interesting to see at the end of the year how that impacts it. I don't see it being too much, but I mean, it does have trickling effects of ensuring that, you know, our firefighters are supported with training, that we have the proper equipment to deal with those type of medical calls, and as well, you know, it's more supplies that we may need as well. So there will be an added impact, but I think most residents will say that's probably something that they would rather have at that moment in need, to know that there's actually somebody coming versus, you know, 30 minutes out or 20 minutes out. So we'll certainly keep an eye on it and see what that's going to look like at the end of the year. But, you know, again, I think just, you know, our fire service does a great job, and knowing that somebody's going to be coming, at least with a medical bag, that's important.
Good. Any other questions? Councillor Hatt.
I know myself, it's, I don't know how you guys do it. I don't know how the firefighters do it, all hours, days, nights. And let's be honest, in the last 2 weeks, look at the funeral home websites around. Most of them are not ones that I know myself I don't want to roll up on in the middle of the night and have to deal with that either. And I don't know how they do that and how mentally they stay strong to do that. And my heart goes out to them for that. Not to mention that, hey, whether we like to admit it or not, we are in a drug crisis in today's age versus where we were. And you know, when them fire trucks are rolling down the road, I don't know how many firefighters are in here. I know there's a couple of guys down back I see there. Raise up your hands. You trained on Narcan? 100%. So they're getting there quick. And if there's a chance that that's somebody's life for a second, to be able to give them 1, 2, 3 shots, I hear, of Narcan to get them back, then you know what? I lay my head down at night and I'm okay with that, as long as they're okay mentally with that. But it is something that's being pushed off slowly. You can see that from over the last few years. But I know for myself, I'll never deviate on my passion that them guys go above and beyond, and girls, sorry, go above and beyond. And my hat's tipped to you. Thank you.
No, I think we're very fortunate that we have a fire department that's willing to do that. We have a fire chief we're very fortunate we have a fire chief that's actually trained and is a professional. The other fire departments in the province are doing the same thing. Just down the road in St. Andrews, the fire chief down there is actually, his background is the ambulance service, and they have 2 or 3 members on the department that their background is the ambulance. So we're very fortunate that we have a fire department that care and are willing to do this, because all it takes is save one life, and it's well worth every penny. You can't put a price tag on a life. Save one life. It doesn't matter to me who walks through that door, if he's a ambulance person or a fire department. As long as they're coming through the door to save my life, that's great. Doesn't matter to me. So I can't thank the fire department enough, and we're very fortunate as a municipality to have a fire department that's willing to do that.
But what you're saying, just to clarify, for CIO, Jason, you're saying that as a council, we should be lobbying more to ambulance NB to
Correct.
fulfill this gap
Yep.
in service.
That's right. Yeah, because I mean, it's, as Councillor Hatt mentioned, I mean, our big concern is that there could be burnout with more calls with our firefighters, and just really the calls are different, you know, for them as well. So, so that's always a concern that we have, more than just the monetary side of it, right? So, so certainly, I think any help we can get to raise this point to the province and onto Ambulance New Brunswick, it's just, you know, we're fulfilling the demand that's there, but you know, how sustainable is it as well, right? So,
Yeah, the days of having an ambulance service in every municipality stopped quite a few years ago, and they started moving ambulances around and deployed service, I guess is what they call it. I'm not sure the exact name. That's why sometimes the ambulances are so far away. It could be a half hour to 45 minutes away. And so it's not just here in our area that there's an issue. It's all across New Brunswick. So it's something that every municipality should be going after the ambulance in New Brunswick to change the way it's done.
Your Worship, one thing I do want to make sure, though, and I know our CAO and the chief does, but I want to make sure that our volunteer firefighters have the access to counseling if they need for their mental health and stuff, because listen, that is a rough time at times. So I want to make sure that that is there and in place for them.
Yeah, I just want to, and that's very important. And we're very fortunate this year. We actually have a chaplain on the fire department who he'll start that process. And if they do need more, we definitely would ask the fire chief to make sure they do have it. But right now, we are fortunate to have a chaplain right on that automatically does that right away. So I'm going to Public Works report, and I'll go to Councillor McQuarrie.
Everybody's back in, getting ready for summer mode. They're tearing down the snow equipment, taking everything apart, checking all the trucks and equipment over, make sure it's ready for summer stuff. They were out in Blacks today sweeping the roads. There's a few leaks in pipes still being looked at. And what's St. George? St. George, they're looking at they were looking at a gas leak up front of the post office.
we did have that gas leak, yeah. We did the leak.
Where that pothole was?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's all straightened out then, okay. Yeah, other than that, and they're doing their water tests regularly, so that's about it.
Great. Thank you, Councillor McQuarrie. Question or comment? Councillor Degradis, you're first.
Yeah, so the first question is for our CAO. It's from the Public Works report from February 2024. According to Rod's report, there was high levels of BOD in the water. So has anyone from the municipality spoken to, yeah?
Yeah, so our high BOD within our wastewater, we do have incidents of that occurring. So we have pretty good communication with industry, and for the most part, the record has been fairly good that they've changed some things. A lot of times it's because of maybe some changing chemicals or practices that they have on site. So yeah, anytime we see those, automatically they
But since then, so since February, you've met with them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
And the other question that I have is just two things, actually. Another two things. One, it says, it mentions about the concrete curb along Riverview Avenue has been deteriorating more and more every year. Along with that, the constant abuse from snowplows, wings hitting it in the weekend areas, has caused pieces to break off and end up on lawns and sidewalks. So, this is a major concern. I'm addressing to council. So, for this meeting, we're supposed to be reviewing a list of gas tax areas to look at. I noticed that Riverview was on the list, but it didn't specifically say where. I know I'm jumping the gun here, but is this on the?
So on the gas tax report we'll see later on, the Riverview Avenue, we're still waiting for quotations. So that's why it's to be determined.
But that would include the curb work?
Right,
Okay.
the curb work, yeah.
And just, is it possible if we could put some garbage cans along Mount Pleasant near the high school? Because there's a lot of garbage there, and Billy does a fantastic job picking up the trash, but it would make his job a little bit easier if we could just put one trash can on the hill.
Somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to move ahead to the Parks and Recreation report, and Councillor Hatt.
I don't have February's, but I see March's here. So I'll give March's. Sure, it's probably pretty similar, but checks were done. As always, we have the tower that has to be, that's registered with the province, and the reporting has to be done for that. We also have to let the province know when we start the cooling tower, also when we shut the cooling tower down. So they're acquiring quotes for the mechanical room upgrades. That's to do around with some code around the engine room. And the rest of this is just pretty generic. I'll touch on it in the recreation report. But Simcoe was here. They shut down the system. And pretty much the rest of it's all in my recreation report anyway, Your Worship. So.
Great. Why don't we just go right ahead with that?
Okay. Sorry, I wasn't ready. So this will kind of be March and April's up to now, I guess. So seeing we're halfway through that, and with a little bit of February. So we hosted with collaboration with the YMCA of Eastern Charlotte during March break, as you heard Paige talk about here earlier, from the 3rd to the 9th for a full week of activities, which were very well attended. Sunday, March 23rd was the last day of the season for the 2024-2025 ice rental season at the Eastern Charlotte Recreation Complex. No matter if you are in a hockey team, you come to public skating, sticks and pucks, pickup, bubble skates, private skates, senior league, or anything in between, I want to say thank you for making this a very successful season and a success. I would like to extend a huge thank you to Drew Dugan, the Parks Rec foreman, and also to Ricky Lovett as the Public Works foreman. And also all the guys that had worked at the facility this year, Jamie Melanson, Frank Richard, Neil Leakfold, and Norm Lambert, for keeping the ice up and keeping the arena in tip-top shape. If we all remember a few years ago when we started selling ice up the road, that was one of the biggest things that I put in my backpack, and when we went up the road selling ice, and that was hard, fast, quality ice. And the guys have laid that out time and time again, and I am very proud and so happy to see that that's still continuing. We have some exciting news coming up for the 2025-2026 season, and I know most everybody here on council can't wait till we can make that announcement. It will be an amazing opportunity for our community, for our businesses, for everybody to have something to do and for our youth. There's more upgrades coming to the basketball court out here at J.O. Spinney Drive and the baseball field. Thank you, Alexa, for coming the other night and walking through with us. And so please continue to be patient and work with us. The ball field is very, very damp and wet right now, so we've got to get that dried up some before we can start working on it. I know Drew has reached out, and we have talked about the benches and fencing going up here at the basketball court to support the youth in their basketball. And I believe it's a 3-on-3, Jason, that they usually play out of there, like a little bit of a league. So if you haven't already noticed, Public Works is around, started setting out the benches, picnic tables, garbage cans, etc. Yes, I know, there's a lot of people want to know when the docks are going to be in, and that's on their list too, and they are on it. I want to let everybody know, and this is a little bit hard to take, I guess, so I do want to let everyone know that our corporate sponsor of Fog Festival in Blacks Harbor is no longer participating. Fog Festival will be a little different this year, and we're finalizing the plans up. So very shortly, we'll release them plans, but we are trying to reach out for some fundraising and a corporate sponsor to help with this year. So please keep your ear open to as that goes. Nothing's changed for Summerfest. That was a question that had come today earlier, so that's well within the planning is in the Summerfest committee that's working through that. So mark your calendars of the upcoming events. On May 8th, we partner with the RCMP for the annual Bike Safety Rodeo. It's happening at the Eastern Charlotte Recreation Complex. Mother's Day Luncheon is here, May 10th. Pre-registration is required, so staff is requesting all those who have registered to submit your pictures of you and your mom, or your mom figure for the slideshow. The community cleanup will be May 24th, and Jason, this date's for you to write down there. June 7th, the Canal Beach and Splash Pad will be open for the season, and June 7th will also be the Charlotte wide yard sale. So that's kind of when we're kicking summer off here. And stay tuned to the Eastern Charlotte Parks and Rec Facebook page for all the information, and happy Easter to everybody this weekend.
Great, thank you, Councillor Hatt. It's hard to believe in just 2 more months, the arena will be the central focus for the annual Grand March for Fundy, so it's coming up pretty darn quick. Any questions or comments for Councillor Hatt? If not, thank you very much for that. We'll move ahead. So, let's turn the page here. Financial statement. I need a motion tonight to, oh, I got you. Is it?
I can give an update.
Oh, okay. So,
I'll just update. We have that other.
gotcha.
This was prepared by Sharon Boyne Travis of Eastern Charlotte Age Friendly Community Committee. Just the minutes from our last meeting. We have the action plan and council package prepared. There's quite a few copies available in the back if anyone in the public wants to pick a copy up. We are still waiting on our grant. We are receiving money from Age Friendly grants. We applied for the Help Age Canada, I believe. Jason, how much money did we apply for? Do you remember? Not off the top of our head. And then we were bouncing off some community engagement ideas. So one member was thinking about working on doing a newsletter for the community just to keep everyone in the loop of what's going on. There's a strategy to work on getting fridge magnets and info cards and for seniors. If you can visualize this, there are these magnets where you can write down key pieces of information. So the event is something, God forbid, something happens, that information will be readily available on your fridge. Doing community cafes, so working with youth and the Multicultural Association. We're going to be working on making a Facebook page, and that's that. Sharon got a hold of these, which is these booklets that, I don't know if you can see, they say AJ New Brunswick, a user's guide. These are really helpful if you're a senior or if you have a loved one that's a senior. It's kind of like a checklist of what to do, key numbers to remember. They talk about long care homes, financial assistance, legal assistance. So Sharon said that she would try to get some more copies and have them available at the Municipal Hall and at some other senior groups. That's the update.
Great, thank you, Councilor. I think this is coming up a little further in the agenda tonight. I'm going to go to the financial statement. I'm looking for a motion to accept the financial reports for March 2025. I need a motion for that, Deputy Mayor. Seconded by Councilor Thompson. Question or comment on the motion? All those in favor of the
I have a
motion?
question.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, I just highlighted it. Let me just find the page.
Councilor Dedirakis, you have the floor.
Yes, I apologize. I'll be quick. I'm just looking for the line that I highlighted. It's page 22. Is it general? Do you remember what page it was on? 20? I think I saw that. Yes, here it is. So it's on page 21 for the general fund, line item 01-4777000. It's for municipal office improvements. So I see that we have budgeted $313,000. Just wondering, where did that figure come from?
So that's just a general ledger name. So that would be the St. George, or that's the, I believe that's the capital funds for Eastern Charlotte. I know we had two capital funds. One was a general Eastern Charlotte capital fund, and then there was a St. George capital fund as well. But it's just, it's a line.
So we should rename that
Right.
then?
Yeah,
Okay.
it just needs to be renamed, yeah.
Okay.
Great. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Contrary, and that's passed unanimously. Old business, we're up to next, and the first one is 9A, the reclassification proposal. I need a motion from council for council to authorize the CAO to send the proposal reviewed by council to the local government commission detailing the case for reclassification and the next steps to be taken by Eastern Charlotte upon approval to continue. That's this report that you would have in front of you, council. So I would need a motion for that tonight. Oh, Councilor McKay, seconded by Councilor, sorry, Deputy Mayor. It's hard to know which way to look. Okay, we have a motion on the floor. A question or comment on the motion? Councilor Thompson, you're first.
With the recently promised provincial money, the 60 million, will we still need to go to this? Because the transition money is gone, and then the equalization funds, were supposed to be limited to 10 years, so we're now back to 7 years of that. And now the province has stepped up with the 60 million. We obviously get some of that, but do we still need to go to this town to?
So, yeah, we will get some of that, but their calculations of it will be based off of, I mean, cities, of course, will get more, towns will get more, villages will get more. Where we sit as a rural community will be at the bottom of that. So we don't really know the full calculations of that, but even on the equalization, which still have life left in it, we're always concerned that there's a recalculation and then they look at us as a rural community. I mean, just by natural way, rural communities, basic rural community that's new, wouldn't have assets that we would have with both the village and the town and everything. So I guess it's always, we always want to take advantage as much as we can versus just staying with the status quo. We know that moving towards a town puts us in with other towns like Grand Bay and St. Stephen, St. Andrews, for example. They all have town statuses. So taking something less would possibly, I mean, we don't know for sure, again, the calculations are still out there, is likely meaning that we're going to suffer somewhere along the line. So we've always said that, going to a town status is probably the better option, just because it puts us on even playing fields with other municipalities that are out there. So, so I guess the short answer is, just by what we've seen for calculations in the past, yes, the other classifications, larger classifications, will get more money.
Councilor Dederakis, you're next.
So another question for RCO. So when you say suffer along the line, what do you mean? Do you mean as the current like the status quo, or do you mean as a town? Like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, because right now our status is a rural community.
Okay, so because I remember you had sent us, council, an email about, it was the provincial municipal highway plan, and there was a proposal by the province. It's still in the works, it hasn't been finalized, but they have this like a suggested cost-sharing guideline for what towns pay versus rural communities versus villages. So as for rural communities, it's actually more beneficial that we stay like that, because then we would have to pay 5 to 15%. But if you're a town, then you would pay 15 to 25%. So that's a
guideline. We don't have to pay anything.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that like these things are constantly changing right now.
Yeah.
So to say like what's a good position to be in may not. So what's a good position this week may not be a good position next
Very
week
true.
too. That's
Right.
what I'm trying to say. And I guess, with becoming a town, we would have to take on more responsibility. So we would have to pay for more services. No.
No, we haven't provided less services through amalgamation. So we're providing the same amount of services as a rural community.
But for doing like a dangerous and unsightly, that's a new service that we provide, right? Before that was just a service that the province was providing. Now we provide that. That's a cost that we're taking on because it's more efficient.
Yeah. And we did as St. George and the Village of Black Harbor as well.
Okay.
We did a certain part.
And I just want to. So and then my last question is: so we looked at becoming a town. I know that what it's like to be a rural community, but what about not being a village? Like, what about becoming a village? Why is the option to be a town instead of a village, for example?
Well, because I guess the highest classification that we had previous to amalgamation was the town of St. George. So,
how did you classify what was a town versus a village? That's my question.
Right. So, really, a town allows you to have a municipal plan, and that's the key that we're trying to go after. So, the village, for example, Black Harbor had a rural plan. So, getting a municipal plan as a town or a city gives us the local ability to make changes that we need.
So the village at the time, maybe Councillor Hatt, you could speak on this. Did you not have a say in how your municipal plan went? It always went to the province, or how did it work?
I don't think the municipal plan was ever really done for a long time.
It was a rural
We just had a rural plan, so I'm not sure of the history on the rural plan of it.
I guess I was hoping if we could have more of a I appreciate the letter. I know you took a lot of time to write this letter. I was hoping if we could have more of a breakdown of the pros and cons for each classification, because it's not just a classification, it's a potential to really change things, right? It could actually, bottom line, cost the residents more, right? Well, I'm looking at the perspective of highways or roads. Like if you look at the context of Eastern Charlotte, it is mostly a rural community. There's a lot of rural roads. There's a lot of roads that are currently the responsibility of the province. Mm-hmm. As Eastern Charlotte, can we fiscally take that on, all those responsibilities?
And again, that I know we were saying that it's right now that it's not a requirement of DTI to pay any of that percentage, right? They're just saying this is what they'd like us to pay. So. We're not obligated to pay that percentage, whether we're a town or a village or city. So they're just putting that guideline out. That's something more recently. They've never done that before. So always our municipal plan our more municipal designated highway plan was always something the province paid fully. Anything between the curbs, they paid fully. Yeah. So this new guideline is something that we've raised with them is, why put this guideline out. Mm-hmm. So.
I'm just concerned, is this like a little thing of foreshadowing of what's to come, right? That's what I'm concerned about.
And I guess if that does come, we can revert to a rural community. And I think maybe that's what other municipalities may do. But I guess, it will always be the privilege of this council to do a municipal plan and bring the control here. I mean, just for the example, as I've noted in some notes to council, just something as simple as a rural one-way road. I mean, it's maxed right now in a rural plan at 360 meters. A municipal plan gives this council the ability to set those parameters. So for development in the rural areas, we'll have more flexibility than what we have today. Widths of roads and developments as well. I mean, we'll go to a municipal standard with a rural plan. A municipal plan lets this council set those guidelines. So it does give a lot of ability for this council to decide, especially when it comes to development and progression, I guess. This council will decide, set those parameters versus the province. So, and we just, we talked about that earlier, about more restrictions coming on development with, uncharted wetlands and things. So, we want to have as much of the control here versus into a rural plan.
So what this does, it takes the power away from the province, and the local council will have that power to make changes along the way. If somebody wants something done differently, we can do that.
Yeah.
But the province will not do that.
I guess I'm just being maybe a devil's advocate here. I just want council to consider all options. But local council are important. You need a local voice because we're the ones that know what the local issues are. At the same time, not all councils are equipped to deal with complex issues, right? That's where the province comes into play with their expertise. So I guess what I'm asking for, and it's up to council what they'd like too, is I'm looking for a breakdown of a real breakdown of the pros and cons of becoming a town, a village, versus staying as a rural community, because things are constantly changing.
The only thing we have to watch what we're doing tonight, because I'm chairing the meeting, is that we have to stay relevant to the motion. And we've got off the relevance of the motion tonight. The motion back in 2023 was to become a town. So there is a motion, and it's already been passed by this council that we are going to become a town. That's not new news. The only thing we should be debating tonight, whether we move this along. So I guess this is not a debate on being a town or a rural area. We've already made that decision. I guess at this point, we send this off, but the CEO has worked on it. We ready now to send this off to the government for them to make that change. We've been waiting over 2 years for us to be a town, and they're waiting for this document to come so they can change us to a town. So I guess we have to stay relevant to the debate, is what I'm saying. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion to send this off to the province of New Brunswick signify by saying aye. Okay, I got Councillor Hatt and Deputy Mayor Hatt, and Councillor McQuarrie and Councillor McKay. Okay, and nay?
Nay.
Councillor Thompson and Councillor Dedirakis. Okay, so that motion is carried and it moves on to the province. Amy, did you get the vote on that? Just make sure. Okay, good. I just want to make sure. Amy's doing a good job tonight. She's filling in for Chris, so thank you very much, Amy. So I won't go too fast. So that motion is carried. Now we're going to move on to 9B, which is the Housing Accelerator Fund and the application update. And I'm going to go to Jason on that.
Again, I wish we had good news with this one. It is old news, but I guess just to formally advise council that we were not selected for the Housing Acceleration Fund. And to my recollection, I don't believe any of the southwest New Brunswick municipalities were selected for part of the Housing Acceleration Fund, which is, it's unfortunate. We have a few different housing projects that we could have earmarked easily for some of that funding, and at this point, we don't know if there's another fund that's going to be coming open. There's lots of discussion this time, especially with the federal election, but. So this is our second kick at the can, and unfortunately we were declined.
Yeah, I wanted to say how disappointed I am at, once again, the Southwest New Brunswick was completely shut out of the Housing Accelerated Fund. Out of all the communities, Macadam, Campobello, St. Stephen's, St. Andrews, Grand Manan, Fundy Shores, and ourselves, Eastern Charlotte, did not receive one penny to assist us on housing. Again, ignoring our region as second rate. In 2023, the first round was $4.4 billion, billion with a B. Our area did not get anything. This year, another $400 million was added, and again, nothing. Most funding went to the cities and completely ignored rural areas of the province, and that is very sad. It's too bad that at least one of us didn't get the funding. No matter what happens, if say St. Stephen got it, or McAdam, or St. Andrews, it helps all of us, but not one of us got one penny, and that's not right. And hopefully, after this next election, things will change. Council, you're quite willing to jump into this as well? No, Councilor Hatt.
And that's from the federal government?
It's federal money, yes.
That's good, there's an election coming.
Good. If not, we'll move on to new business. Councilor Hatt, I'm going to move what you brought to the very end, so I'm not going to forget it, but just to put it in the right order. 10A is the policy 08-2025, the streetlight policy. I need a motion from council to implement policy 08-2025, streetlight policy. I need a motion from Councillor Thompson, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Question or comment on the motion? And I'm going to go to Jason just to give a quick comment on it.
I guess just for residents and the audience to know what this is just a policy that when there's new request for new streetlights in Eastern Charlotte, that this policy, as staff, we can take a look at this policy and say whether that's a streetlight that would be installed or not, and gives us some direction on streetlight service levels.
Good. Okay, any questions or comments on the motion? All those in
I got
favor?
a comment.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Hatt.
To me, I think it's a great thing, because the last thing is you need is your counselors here worried about one street light going up here or there. So, I mean, if there's a policy on how that's going to be done, how that's going to be laid out, and then there's just the few of them that get questioned for us to be involved in, but for every 10 street lights that go up in different areas, to be involved in all 10 of them, I don't think that's a good use of our resources, so.
No, and basically it takes the politics out of it. Say the next council comes along and decides to take them all down. Now there's a policy in place to make sure that's protected. And it's no difference than having a snow plowing policy. You could have a snow plowing policy, the next council comes along, the mayor decides he wants his street done first. No, that's not going to happen, because there's a policy in place, and that's why we have policies. So this is actually a great policy moving ahead to make sure that these are all protected. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Contrary, and that's passed unanimously. 10B, adjustment of tax authority subunits. I'm going to go with Jason to speak on this first.
Thank you, Worship. So as of right now, today as it stands, we have a wide variety of tax subunits, and basically, the old town of St. George, old village of Blacks Harbor, those are tax units. We have, the Back Bay area being one, Beaver Harbor. So with the last budget, council was successful in aligning the rural areas into one tax rate. So this would be the next step to basically bring all of those rural tax areas under one tax subunit. What it does as well, it speeds up a lot of the process on the financial side with us, especially when it comes to audit and budgeting. I mean, all those tax units are almost looked at as individual little businesses, and really it becomes a bit of a bookkeeping nightmare to do this. So kudos for council for the last couple of years moving the budgets along to we get to this point where we can actually bring the rural areas into just one tax unit, and avoid any confusion when people call and say, what is my tax rate, and we have to kind of determine where they're living at. It's either just going to be three, our rural area tax rate and St. George, Blacks Harbor.
Great. We all know, sitting here at the table, this was our goal, to get to this position. We thought it might be another year before we got to this point, and we were able to do it a little bit earlier, so it was great that we can do that. But I'm going to go to council at this point and look for a motion. Okay, I'm going to get Councillor Thompson. Raise his hands first. I'm going to leave it with you, Councillor Thompson.
Whereas the municipality of Eastern Charlotte has several tax authorities subunits boundaries outside the former town of St. George and former village of Blacks Harbor, and whereas the tax authority subunits have the same levels of service from both local government and the province of New Brunswick, And whereas the council has set the tax rate of these tax authority subunits at an equal rate, be it resolved to merge the following tax authority subunits into one unit and submit the necessary application and supplemental information to the Department of Local Government for review and record the change.
And be it further resolved, that's just the last part.
Okay. And be it further resolved that the new tax authority subunit shall be named Eastern Shire Rural.
Great, thank you very much, Councilor Thompson. We have a motion on the floor, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Question or comment on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Contrary, and that's passed unanimously. That was a...
contrary.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay, Councilor Hatt. So, yeah, but the motion is still carried? Here we go. Yeah, that was a big one there. Okay, now we'll move on. Looking for a motion for 10C. This is the Eastern Charlotte Age-Friendly Community Action Plan 2025 to 2028. And I'm going to go to Councilor Dedorakis. Yes, if you like. You don't have to, but this is not rehearsed. I just figured that you're the one working on it, so.
We put out a survey, gosh, RCO, could you remind me when we put the survey out?
January,
January.
first of the year, yeah.
There were a lot of responses, and the committee was able to put forth a action plan for 2025 to 2028. Some of the items include transportation, outdoor spaces and buildings, community support and health services, that's another element, another part. So I'll do the motion. So whereas the Eastern Charlotte Age-Friendly Community Committee has developed a recommended action plan for 2025 to 2028, and whereas the action plan contains recommendations for the municipality of Eastern Charlotte, as well as additional organizations and groups, be it resolved that council approve the action plan 2025 to 2028 recommendations of the Age-Friendly Community Committee to install public-facing signage for municipal-owned public washrooms in St. George and Blacks Harbor. Be it further resolved that council advise the Age-Friendly Community Committee to contact the appropriate government, nonprofit, and community groups to communicate the additional recommendations in the action plan 2025-2028 to benefit of Eastern Charlotte residents. And I would also say, we developed to recommend, has recommended. Yeah, that's it. That's my motion.
Okay, great. I was ready to write it down because I didn't see it here. Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Councilor Dedorakis, so I need a seconder. Councilor Hatt? Question or comment on the motion?
I got a comment.
Councilor Hatt, you're first.
Councilor Dedorakis, I want to say great job. This has been a long time coming, and I see nothing but great things. I know the lady that did the presentation here was awesome to be able to work towards getting that status, so thank you for taking that on.
I appreciate that, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary, and that's passed unanimously. 10D, Adventure Lane Area. We're looking for a motion for a different name to this. I need somebody, councilor, to jump in here. I'm going to go to the deputy mayor.
Be it resolved that the area currently known as Day Adventure Center along the eastern bank of the Macadavic River in St. George and serviced by the Adventure Lane be redesignated as Riverside Park.
Riverside Park, okay. We have a motion on the floor from the deputy mayor to rename it Riverside Park, and we need a seconder for that. Councilor McKay, is that a motion? Oh, that's our seconder. I see you going like this. I wasn't sure. Okay, so Councilor McKay has seconded that motion. Question or comment on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary. That motion is carried. 10E, surplus items. Oh, anybody want a Zamboni? Anybody out there want a Zamboni? Yeah. This is surplus. I'm going to go to Jason to speak about this before we see a Zamboni go up and down the street here tonight.
So I guess just on the surplus assets and property report to council, we do have the older Zamboni that's in there. There's been some mechanical issues with the engine. The other item that was in there was a parcel of land at 37 French Village Road. That's just as you work your way up French Village Road. So we'd like to get that surplus so we can put that out for public interest. So just the two items.
Great. So we'll take the first one first, and that's the 10E1 Zamboni. I need a motion from council to declare as surplus the 1999 Zamboni serial number 13006-T-11-K and advertise its sale by tender at a minimum bid of $1. I need a motion for that. No motions. I'll give that Thompson, Councilor Thompson. Second by Deputy Mayor. Did I see your hand? Deputy Mayor? Question or comment on the motion?
I got a question.
Councilor Hatt.
What one are we on here? Seem to be flying here, so I'm just trying to get caught up with the paperwork.
10E1.
Yeah, so 10E1?
Yeah.
I would hope that we would go to a different minimum bid level. That's probably worth $5,000 or $6,000 worth of parts that are good for the Zamboni there, so I would refrain at that amended, that we would amend that, please.
Motion to amend.
Okay, we have a motion to amend that. I need a seconder for that. Councilor Thompson.
What was the, I guess, just what,
Yeah, and
clarification?
what was the number you want to put in there? Pick a number.
How about, why do we have to have a number?
I
If
guess-
people are gonna put bids
Yeah.
in for it,
Do you
what's
want
the
to just put
difference?
but the reserve bid would be, do you want to put a reserve bid on it, or?
I don't even know. I wasn't prepared for that item, to be quite honest. Wasn't thinking that it was that big of a hurry to get it on there, so.
2 or 3?
Yeah, I would say a minimum of a couple $1,000. It's worth that to us to keep for
Okay,
parts.
So on this motion, we have it for, say, $3,000, okay? Same motion, but with a dollar figure of 3,000. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary, so we go back to the regular motion with that added to it, with that number changed. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Contrary, and that's passed unanimously. PID number 01218205. This is the, Jason had mentioned about the 37 French Village, to advertise it for sale. I need a motion from council on that. Councilor Hatt, you're from Black Harbor, would you like to?
Be it resolved that council declare the surplus of the property, 37 French Village Road, Blacks Harbor. Do I need the PID number into that motion? Do you need that for record keeping, or?
35 is good.
Okay. PID 01218205, and advise its sale by tender at a minimum bid of $9,500. With the condition of the home to be built on the lot within 5 years of the date of purchase or return to Eastern Charlotte, the sum of paid.
Great, we have a motion on the floor. I need a seconder for that. Councilor Thompson, just by here. Question or comment on the motion? Councilor McQuarrie, do you have a comment? I heard you saying, muttering something down there. Okay, there we have a comment. Great. Councilor McQuarrie. Okay, that's what.
I guess one thing we're finding, is just with the comment, we find a lot of the houses that we've done with 2 years, we end up having to buy them back. So the construction window being pretty tight with our area, with the spring, summer, and fall, and that's about it. So it's far easier to give more time versus to reel it back.
Your worship, I can amend that to 3 years if Councillor McQuarrie thinks that's more.
Okay, you want to amend the motion?
I will amend that motion that the 5 years be amended to 3 years.
Yep, and Councilor McQuarrie is going to second that, I'm guessing. Yep. Question or comment on the amendment? All those in favor of that amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, and that's passed unanimously. Go back to the original motion to put this out, to add it with 3 years. Any question or comment on that? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary, and that's passed unanimously. 10F, tender results for 2025-01, the Canteen, the Canal Beach. I'm going to go to Jason first on this.
Thank you, Worship. So we did a request for proposals for the canteen at Canal Beach. RFP 2025-01 was posted publicly on February the 17th with additional direct invites being offered to local businesses. This RFP was closed on March 28th, 2025 at 1 p.m. The following proposals were received. Cassandra Jones, the Canal Beach Canteen. It's a return of that business. And no other submissions were received. All approved proposals will be subject to the signing of the license of occupation agreement And the leave shall outline limitations, restrictions, and guidelines, and it's my recommendation that we accept the proposal as provided.
Okay, I need a motion from council to award the contract for, who was it again?
Cassandra Jones.
So I need a motion for that. Councilor Thompson, go ahead.
Be it resolved that council award the contract for tender 2025-01 Canteen Canal Beach to the applicant for the term of 2 years.
Seconder. Deputy Mayor. Question or comment on the motion? None? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Contrary? Motion is carried. 10G, attended results 2025-02, canteen for the Eastern Charlotte Recreational Complex. Jason again.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this is tender results, RFP 2025-02, was posted publicly on February the 17th with additional direct invites being offered to local businesses. This RFP closed on March the 28th, 2025 at 1 p.m. The following proposals were received. Kerna Gimeno of Kubo Filipino Fusion, and another proposal from Jericho Shaw and Jeff Campbell. No other submissions were received. All approved proposals will be subject to the signing of a license of occupation agreement. LU's shall outline limitations or restrictions guidelines, and it's my recommendation to award to Jericho Shaw and Jeff Campbell.
I need a motion for that.
I can make that motion.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Councilor Hatt.
Be it resolved that council award the contract 2025-02 Canteen Eastern Charlotte Recreation Complex to Jericho Shaw and Jeff Campbell for the term of 2 years.
We have a motion on the floor. I need a seconder. Okay, Deputy Mayor. Question or comment on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. And contrary, and that's passed unanimously. 10H is the gas tax plan. This is only for information. Council is still going through this, but I'm going to have the CAO make a couple comments on this.
Thank you, Your Worship. So currently, I've shared with council the first draft of the quotes that we've received. We're still receiving other quotes for paving, as well as mentioned previously for some concrete work, for curb and sidewalk work. So we're just waiting on that. Once those quotes are received, we'll be able to finalize that draft and another version. I'm hoping to see that come to council before maybe the May meeting. Maybe if we look at, as I mentioned earlier, about possibly doing a special meeting with regards to the Hillside subdivision for St. George. So, I guess that's what we're going to shoot for. It's really just been dependent on a few quotes. We'd like to get those finalized. But I guess I'm trying to set myself a deadline too, because of construction season starting, that we may have to just do what we have for quotations, and then the plan can always be adjusted next year as well as we move along. But I believe that some of the quotes may change some of the numbers as well. That's why we're just kind of waiting for those quotes.
Great. Question or comment from council on that? Councilor Hatt, you're first.
How long do you think before that would be finished up, as far as a timeline for you?
I really was expecting to have most of the quotes, especially with the paving, all done by now. But with the asphalt plans starting up next week, we're hoping to see those quotes come in sooner rather than later. The concrete one, especially for like Riverview Avenue, it's just been so difficult getting concrete quotations. So we do have there's a contractor that we've used in St. George before that is sort of back to this area. So we're hoping that he'll provide a quote fairly soon. But if not, then we can certainly look at what we have for paving now and move them out. I don't see any of them. None of them are breaking the limits of tendering requirements for any of the paving quotes. Each of the streets are less than the guideline of let's say $50,000, which would be that's when tendering is mandatory. But most of them are smaller than that. But we do have a bit of a list there now, which I think we want to get that done sooner rather than later. So that's why I'm sort of shooting for a special.
So my question is, does that have to be, if it's 4 or 5, whatever the quotes that we pick and the companies that we choose, Does that have to come to a meeting to be voted on for that?
Right.
Well, I would say if you know that you're gonna have that information done, and we have to haul an emergency meeting to do that, then let's do that.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Exactly.
Oh, definitely. Any other questions, comments? If not, we're going to move ahead to the Village of Black Harbor bylaw Z.2.6. I know that Alex stayed for this, and I guess Alex is going to speak on it. He's jumped right up there.
I can jump in.
He's very keen, so Alex has jumped up, so who wants to go first?
All right, well, thank you.
Who's on first? Okay, Alex, you're first.
So I think we've kind of covered some of this ground already. The municipal administration is applying for this rezoning to council to amend the Village of Black Harbor rural plan. This would enable the subdivision of 3 lots on Hillside Drive, Blacks Harbor, not the Hillside subdivision we were talking about in the former St. George. So it would enable the 3 lots, which would assist in facilitating some needed housing developments. So the proposed rezoning bylaw, it's actually quite minor when you look at it on the map. It takes a piece of property that used to have the former wellhead on Hillside Drive. It was decommissioned around 2017. It was in this thing called a restricted development zone, kind of like a utility zone, utilities only. And it kind of covered in a portion of where one of the 3 proposed lots would go. So what is being suggested here is a portion of that be retained by Eastern Charlotte and be rezoned to the rec zone. That would enable potentially a future small little pocket park. There isn't many parks in that area, and also there's a requirement in the village's rural plan to have 8% of any subdivision be dedicated for land for public purpose, so for parks or other types of open space, green space, etc. So again, this is just rezoning a portion of this restricted development zone that's no longer needed to R1 for residential, and then the other portion to recreation to enable a potential little park development or just keeping it as green space. So with that, I could answer any questions, but the recommended actions are to set a date for a public hearing of objections, consider giving first reading to the bylaw, and to request the views of the Planning Review and Adjustment Committee. With that, I can take any questions.
Good. Jason, you want to speak first before we
Thank
go
you,
to-
Worship. So this property, I guess, for especially residents in Blacks Harbor, this is Hillside Drive across from the post office, so lots of single-family homes up there. We acquired a large piece of property in 2023 from Connors Brothers, and really out of that piece of property that abuts up against Hillside Drive, there's at least 3 house lots that we can get out of that. One is pretty much already cleared now. And the other one would be a portion of that old well that's long gone up there as well. So it's, again, just looking at the map and what we have for inventory and seeing what we can pull for development. So yeah, it would be certainly my recommendation of moving to first reading and even possibly second reading. Again, going to PRAC and setting a public hearing that would be setting probably in Blacks Harbor as well.
Great. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to entertain a motion first, and then we'll go into questions to Alex. So I need a motion first, that way we can have question or comment. Councillor Thompson.
Be it resolved that council accept the first reading by title only of bylaw Z.2.6 to amend bylaw Z.2, being the rural plan of the Village of Blacks Harbor.
We have a motion on the floor. I need a seconder. Councillor Hatt. Okay, now, Alex is still here. Question or comment? He stayed all night.
Question. Sure. What impacts do you see with this? Good, bad, and the ugly?
So I did a planning report on this, and what I would see is positive impacts. As I said, there is a demand for new house lots, and this is an area you have municipal infrastructure already, so it's financially conservative to do so, to develop land where you already have the services in the ground. Also the positive impact around potentially adding a small little pocket park there, as I said. We did just a kind of a desktop analysis here, but the closest other playground I could find would be within about a 9-10 minute walk and encouraging kids to play outside is a public health priority. So so I see lots of positives for this on Hillside Drive. And so what this would also do, it's not changing any of the zones for the properties that are currently on Hillside Drive. As I said, this property is largely already zoned R1, single and two-family residential zone. So this would just allow for the 3-lot subdivision as proposed by the municipality. And it's just more efficiently using the land you have.
Okay.
And so I can only see positives, and I thoroughly recommend it to council.
Yep, great. Any other questions or comments to council?
Actually, I know there was, Jason, there was said about a wellhead. That wellhead's nothing to do with anything in the municipality. It hasn't been used. I don't know any history of that wellhead ever being any value, so.
Yeah, we well was taken out in 2022, so it's gone, yep.
Okay, we have a motion for a first reading of bylaw Z.2.6 to amend bylaw Z.2, being the rural plan for the village of Black Cyber. All those in favor of that signify by saying aye. Contrary minded, that's passed unanimously. Now, I need a motion for a second reading, and we move this along. And somebody like to make this for a second reading? Yeah, Councillor Hatt, you go ahead.
Be it resolved that council, Be it resolved that council accept the second reading of its entirety by bylaw Z.2.6 to amend the bylaw Z.2 being the rural plan of the village of Black.
We have a motion on the floor. We need a seconder. Deputy Mayor, question. You want to speak on it? Yeah, Jason want to speak on it?
Thank you, Worship. So bylaw number Z.2.6, we'll have copies available at the Municipal Hall, and draft will be posted online for review as well.
Great. Any other questions, comments? If not, all those in favor of the second reading signify by saying aye. Contrary, and I declare that the second reading. Now, the next item is, I don't know if you want to speak on it. This is going to PRAC. And yep, go ahead.
Like any bylaw you pass for a community planning bylaw, you just send it to planning committee for a technical review, and they provide their advice. They're like a second sober thought kind of body, so they'll look at it. And if there's any issues, they'll flag it to council. So you just have to do it as part of your act requirements.
Mm-hmm. So I need a motion from council to send this off to PRAC. Councillor Hatt, go ahead. Do you want to just read what's in front of you? Great, we have a motion on the floor. I need a seconder for that. Councillor Thompson, question or comment? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Contrary, that's passed. Off to PRAC we go. Now we got one more. Now we have to schedule a public hearing. The minimum is 21 days for a public hearing, no earlier than May the 8th. That would make Tuesday, May 13th, which is a good Tuesday's the night that usually council meets to have a public hearing, but I'm not going to tell council what to do. It's up to you guys.
Can I ask Alex a question about that before?
Yeah, you go ahead. Yeah.
Is it a good idea or good practice to wait to PRAC's review before we have that meeting?
What we can do is we can, it generally is a good idea, but you can do it either or. So you can do the public hearing and then PRAC meets. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But what we can do if council has asked the view, so I'm going to ask PRAC if we can add it as a late item to their agenda because they're meeting tomorrow night, and perhaps they'll be able to give you a view. Yeah, tomorrow night.
Are we able to leave that tentative date until that, or does it has to be announced tonight to set a meeting?
Mm-hmm. You want to move it to a different monthly meeting?
No, but like if we can't call it before May 8th, we will be able to get their report back and be prepared for that. That's all my ask is.
Can be moved to old business. It would just delay everything for a month, but I mean, there's no pending, like we don't have anyone vying for those properties or anything, so we can add it to the May old business.
Yeah, I just think that there's other pressing irons right this second in the fire than worrying about getting a special meeting until we have Prax's view.
If that's what council wishes to do, if not, we'll move ahead. Okay, I don't see anybody jumping in, so.
Do you
Okay.
want me to make that motion that we do that, or are you okay with just that?
I think we just
verbiage?
already leave it, isn't it? Yep. Yep. That brings us to council to 10.5. This is a new one which is added, and this is, I'll let Councillor Hatt speak on it, but it's to explore relief for the residents of Blacks Harbor on the water bills. I'm going to let Councillor Hatt speak on this.
Well, we all know, and I know Vicky did a story here a little while ago, you know, that was a year in the making, and here we are, you know, almost another 2 months will be another 6 months to that. Our water quality is still having issues, still infrastructure issues, and water supply problems. Things are better, yes, but I think it's only fair. I know this, within the last, I'm going to say 45 days, I don't even know how many Facebook messages and comments that I've got. And let's be honest, every time a flare-up happens, somebody's washed clothes or somebody's had to spend a bunch of money to get rid of the stains out of their toilets or bathtubs or faucets, or just an onslaught of problems. So I think it's only right that council looks at that. I know it's not an easy thing. I know there's a cost to it. I understand that, but I'll be honest, our ratepayers of the water system in Blacks have been fair, and it's time that we do something for them. So I don't know what that exists. I would ask that we could take that back to a closed meeting, because there's financials involved in that, and figure out what we can do and bring a recommendation to the next meeting.
So really, you don't need a motion tonight, just for this to be acted.
Well, I would like to know council's support on that thought of us being able to work through that and finding out something that we can do.
I don't think there's any problem. Council, I imagine council would love to explore it, absolutely. I don't think there's any question. Absolutely. So therefore, I don't think a motion is required, if that's fine with you, just as long as it gets done in the next.
I'd like to know council's opinion, though. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'd ask for questions or comments to that.
I can go first. Yeah, I absolutely support. Yeah, for sure. I'm eager to talk about this. I absolutely support this. I think the affected residents have been patient with what's been going on, and it's something that they shouldn't have to be. I think it's unfair to charge residents for water that they cannot use. I've used this example before. I certainly would never use the water that the affected residents have to feed my son with it. I wouldn't bathe with it. I wouldn't cook my food with it. So if I wouldn't expect it for myself, I certainly don't expect it for other people. So I think it's urgent that we find a solution to this and find a way to remedy. Yeah, we've got to find a temporary solution until that's my stance.
Just raise your hand if you want to speak. Councilor Thompson.
I can remember being a kid in Blacks Harbor. The water was better there than there was anywhere else in the county. We need to get back to that. It needs to happen soon. It's gone on way too long. These people are, I wouldn't even wash my dog in this water. It needs to be fixed soon. Thank you.
Councilor McKay, you're next.
I also support Councillor Hatt with this motion, or whatever it is he wants here, because I agree 100%, especially in this day and age when everything costs so much, to not be able to have clean drinking water, or to have to go buy your water when you're paying for the service already. So I 100% support this. These people have gone way too long.
Deputy Mayor.
I too support it, Adam. It's time we do something for the residents.
Councilor McQuarrie.
Yeah, I support it, because I was there Saturday when they were flushing the hydrants out. And if anybody goes by Cook's building in Blacks, you look at the brick walls, and what was coming out of those hydrants was a whole lot darker than them walls. So that just gives you an idea of what it was. I meant to take a picture of him, I forgot all about it. Anyways, yeah.
Your worship,
Yeah,
I
Councillor
say
Hatt.
that next Tuesday, when we have our next closed session, that it's a docket on the item for us
Sure,
to start
absolutely.
hacking
Yep,
out.
absolutely. I think, I guess we did hear from everybody, yeah? Excellent. We're missing a couple of people tonight. So. Yeah, it's a short group. Short but mighty. Good. That brings us to correspondence. I'm going to ask maybe the deputy mayor if he wouldn't mind reading the first one. We'll just read it out and then I give it to you. Right?
Got it right here.
Oh, you got it right there. Good man. Good man.
Either other. To whom it may concern, the MBA, New Brunswick Dart Association, have 16 individuals that have qualified to play in the Canadian Darts National Championships in can't even pronounce that, but Quebec in June. In order to fundraise for this event, we will be doing a sponsored dart shirt that every player gets to wear to all events. Last year was a very successful. For $250, you get your company logo included in the sleeve, or for $500, your logo will be on the front and back of the shirt. There will be 12 spots, 6 front and 6 back. That will be a large company's logo on the shirt. The proceeds will assist the team with hotel and travel expenses for this trip. The MBDA will send receipts for the donations made. Thank you in advance for your support and assistance. Steve Foster, New Brunswick Darts National Director.
Great. Council's pleasure.
I would ask that we move that to the finance committee and they can take a look at it.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to move that request to the Finance Committee. We need a seconder for that. Councillor Thompson. Question or comment on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, and that's passed unanimously. The next one we have on there is from the Bay of Fundy Dog Rescue. I have been talking to Sherry Chase-Doucette. They do wonderful work in the area. Anybody that follows their Facebook page, almost every week they're saving a dog or a cat or getting a dog or a cat home. They do really good work. I would suggest to council at this point is to have, she has a long letter, is to have Sherry come in and do a quick presentation to council. And she could tell you more firsthand of what they actually do and their successful results. So maybe if that's all right with council, we'd just have her come in to a Tuesday evening to speak to council. But that's a suggestion, not me telling you what to do. Nope, if that's all right. Okay, we'll move ahead, and I'll let her know. We'll get her on the docket for a Tuesday night. Yes. Sure, absolutely. No, that'd be great.
Thank you, Worship. I guess just for residents to be aware, and any nonprofits or groups that are out there, that we do have there is a grant request form that's on our website. And those grant requests, there's a deadline for October the 31st for the 2020, what year are we in now? 2025, so for 2026 budget. So, we do encourage any groups that are out there looking for funding from the municipality to fill that form out and get it into us for the 2026 year. And that way it's something that's looked at during budget time.
Great. Now we'll go to our last one, 11C from Pat Southard and his letter, and I'm going to go to Councillor Thompson for this one.
Mayor and Council of St. George, this letter is in response to an emergency and near tragedy occurred on Sunday, March 23rd, 2025. My husband, Donnie Southard, suffered a heart attack. A call went out to Ambulance New Brunswick and were there within minutes. At this time, the St. George Fire Department arrived at our home. He, not to have knowledge that the fire department responded to such emergencies. We are so thankful for the fire department arrived and assisted in very capable ambulance hands and attendants who were able to transport Donnie to St. John Regional Hospital and get proper treatment. Do the people of St. George know and surrounding areas and realize that St. George Fire Department responds to all these ambulance emergencies? It is our heartfelt thanks that goes out to the following department members: David Kernathan, Justin Johnson, Paul Burdan, Tyler Burdan, Scott Dugan, Clifford Paul, Josh Clinch, and Sean Morton. Sincerely, Pat Southard.
That's a great letter. And I guess that brings us back to what we were talking about earlier. That our fire department doing filling in for the ambulance service. They were there much earlier than the ambulance before they got there, and this is just one example of our fire department saving people's lives. So it's great to be able to hear a positive story. Move ahead to where are we at? We're getting near the end here, aren't we? Public presentation appearance. This is please note that under bylaw EC-01, section 7.1, members of the public shall be entitled to address council for 5 minutes with no debate from council on matters of municipal jurisdiction. I ask that you begin by giving your name and civic address for the record. I will also add that during the time, I can't tolerate or allow anybody to make accusations against anybody on any subject that works for Eastern Charlotte, any member of council, anybody else for that matter. If that happens, I have to stop you and have you escorted out. So you have 5 minutes.
Joan Craig, 105 McKay Loop.
Great to hear that Craig name. Excellent. Great
Yeah, of course. I think this is more for Wayne, Councillor Wayne. Anyway, in Penfield, there's a spot where there's a truck drive spot but everybody's dumping all their garbage there. And I was just wondering because I do the cleanup every year, and that's a really bad spot. I don't know how to solve it. I don't know if garbage cans are an answer or whatever, but I walk there a lot, and it's really discouraging. It's like a dumping zone. It's just full of garbage again. And I just wanted to bring it to your attention and see if there's something we can do about that. That's all.
No,
thank you.
No, thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Anybody else? There we go.
I wish this thing would go higher. My name is Matthew Hall. I'm a resident in Penfield. I'm here today to speak of a few things I think we as a municipality should look into. But before I get into the more serious topics, I want to announce the first ever Macadavic River Race. This race will see canoes and kayaks battle it out for the fastest time from Pomeroy Bridge down to Milligan Brook on April 26th. It's 7 kilometers of fun water and 2 exciting Class 2 rapids. If anybody has any interest in signing up or volunteering, search for the Macadavic River Race event on Facebook and reach out to me personally. Now the more serious ideas. The first one, the municipality should look into lobbying the provincial government to transfer ownership of some Crown land to the municipality. Unlike what is currently happening in Laurenville, this transfer would be to protect this parcel of land from forestry practices and would turn it into a protected area with trail systems on it. It has good potential for rock climbing routes, and it's all within like 5 to 10 minutes of St. George. I can get into more detail about what the PID number is and all that stuff, because right now there hasn't been any forestry activity on it in my entire lifetime. So I don't want to bring it up to to those who have access to it. Secondly, the municipality should look into developing a bylaw to prevent mass amounts of land to be clear-cut within the municipality. I don't know if this is something that the municipality can do. I think it's something that we should look into. There's vast amounts of land that would change the lives of many people who live around it if companies were to come in and flatten it. This isn't only an issue for rural areas. These parcels of land exist within the old boundaries of the village of Blacks Harbor and St. George. Lastly, this one might get a little bit of hate, but I got to bring it up. The municipality should look at removing the snowmobile designation for the portion of the paved trail from the tunnel to where it crosses Main Street. Each winter, this trail doesn't get plowed. The first 2 winters that the trail was paved and stuff, this turned into an icy mess for walkers. There was no active grooming on it because we didn't have the required amount of snow. And this year, even with the amount of snow we did receive and the groomers on it, I wasn't aware of any snowmobiles that did use it. So this became, there's a better use for it for the residents of Eastern Charlotte and St. George who are looking to get outside and be active during the winter for their mental health, physical activity, and what's the other thing? and this fresh air. Anyways, that's it for tonight, so thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Matthew. I appreciate coming in tonight. Anybody else? Going once? Twice? 3 times? That's it? Okay. Next item on the docket tonight is statements by members of council. I'll just go first. I have a few items tonight because we're backed up here a couple months. My sincerest appreciation goes out to our foreman, Rick Levitt, Frank Richard, Jamie Melanson, and Neil Ligford, along with Reggie Blanchard and his son-in-law, Samuel. Eastern Charlotte is indeed fortunate to have such a committed and hard-working team. On Saturday, April the 5th, and Sunday, April the 6th, these individuals worked tirelessly from morning to late at night, this is the weekend, to restore water services to the Glennie Court area. Their dedication to working in challenging conditions, including cold winds, mud, and 12-foot holes for the entire weekend was truly impressive, and I know all residents were very thankful of our crew. Councillor Terry Lee and I attended the St. George Animal Shelter's fundraiser last month. The animal shelter are focusing on building a standalone, separate building with expanded capacity. We're indeed privileged to have this shelter serving our local community, and Councillor Lee would encourage everybody to volunteer and contribute to this worthwhile project. Tonight I wish to send out condolences to former St. George Councillor Gail Mullen, whose husband Gary passed away on Friday, March 7th. Gail was heavily involved in St. George as a councillor from 2008 to 2018, was also a zone director at UMNB for this area. As the council knows, or anybody else that has served on council, that is usually the family that sacrifices. I think, Councillor Hatt, you have quite a bit of your family here tonight. They realize that they're the ones who sacrifice the most. When you dedicate your time to serving your community in your role, this is what happens. Tonight, our thoughts are with Gail and her entire family. Congratulations to Glenn Cook. Glenn Cook, CEO of Cook Incorporated, has been named #1 on the Intrafish Media's 2025 Seafood Powers 100 list. #1. That's pretty darn good. Recognizing the most influential leaders in the seafood industry. Intrafish defines power as, in the seafood world, it's the ability to move markets with your decisions. To take risks that prompt a reaction from competitors, to make bold investments that move the industry forward. It is to innovate, to collaborate, and to find solutions. To make the industry stop and listen when you speak, and to lead. So congratulations to Glenn Cook on that. I think that's all I have. The only thing I have is Happy Easter to everybody on the Easter weekend coming up. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I want to wish Darrell Tidd a speedy recovery. And as a side note to our recreation, we have a very active ATV community here, and there's a lot of events coming up in the next couple months, so keep your eyes open on our Facebook page.
Councillor Thompson. Councillor Hatt.
I want to touch on something that's getting pretty big in our Eastern Charlotte area here, and that is the CHCO that's happening. And I just want to reach out and say thank you to all the charities that are around here supporting this. So really, at the end of the day, that has been a huge surge of fundraising for them charities. And them charities today, of the 10 groups that are selling CHCO tickets, that's $350,000 that's gone into their charities, which, you know, that's great. That's what we're doing it for. But I also, as one being involved in that, I also drive through this town of St. George, or the old town of St. George, and I look at every restaurant is full that evening. I look at lots of people walking down the streets. I look at lots of people being out around. And I just want to say I think it's awesome, and I do want to throw out to them partners of the St. George Curling Club, Eastern Charlotte Fire Club, Charlotte County Minor Hockey, Granite Chapter, 15 Eastern Star, Eastern Charlotte Minor Baseball, which we're here tonight, Charlotte County Snow Cruisers, the St. George Lodge number 12, Eastern Charlotte Community Meals that serve meals here every Monday night, Fundy Minor Basketball, and Cancer Walk As We Care. So kind of, it's really amazing, our community, and I just want to say thank you to everybody, and thank you to all the charities that are huddling together and making this something. it's definitely causing spin-offs into the businesses, which I want to say thank you.
Councilor Dedirakis.
It's more of a comment. So I'm getting a lot of questions about our status with the childcare development, and I'm just this is more of a question for Jason and some direction. If the municipality could post some updates of where we are with the project. You know, this project has been identified as a major need in our community, and it's also been recognized as a priority of council. So if we could find a way to communicate what we're doing, right? Instead of these one-line sentences, we actually are working hard behind the scenes, and people want to know what's going on.
Yeah, I think that's a problem. I think we're all just really anxious to know what we have to put on the thermometer for raising money, and I know that's certainly been my message back. Talking with the Y and talking with Boyd Murdoch as well to try to get that timeline sped up. So definitely we can get something out. Maybe an update of a news release. Yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
Councilor McQuarrie. And last but not least, but Councilor McKay, you're next.
Thank you all for coming. I just want to put a little whatever out there that there is going to be a huge community Easter egg hunt, 89 Mount Pleasant Road. Generations Church puts it on. This is their third year. We usually have 200 to 300 people. Last year, I think there was maybe 300 to 400 people out. Great prizes. Over 3,000 eggs are going to be hidden from ages 0 up to, I guess grade 12. So anybody that has children and wants to come out, it's going to be a great event. It starts, I do believe, at 1 or 1:30. Lots of stuff going on there. And other than that, I want you all to have a very safe and happy Easter.
What day was that again, Elise?
Saturday.
This Saturday. Okay, great. Excellent.
Yep.
Great. Is there a rain date on that in case it rains?
Rain date will, I think they said maybe next week.
Okay, great.
But
Just looking at the forecast.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be a go.
Good. Excellent. Okay, a date and location of our next regular meeting of council is Wednesday, May 21st, 2025, 7 o'clock, right here at Macadavic Place. I need a motion for adjournment. Councilor Dedirakis. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody.